Hello, everyone. It's Alicia, founder and executive producer of ClariT Media. Thank you for following me here on Facebook, and thank you for subscribing on YouTube to ClariT Media and the Bay Area Mental Health Hour. But make sure you tap on the notifications bell on YouTube so that you're the first to know when I'm uploading new episodes. Yeah, they've been coming in every week. I've been able to get a lot done. So make sure that you tap on that notifications bell on YouTube. You'll be the first to know. Thank you again so much for your support. So here is the next episode of ClariT Conversations.
A record number of women elected. And that's where you saw wherever Democrats had a woman up against a male, almost 98% of the time since 2018, the woman won, regardless of race. So Biden having Kamala on the ticket, I think is right because there's something going on with women as voters and women as attractive candidates that has led to what we have right now is a record number in Congress, a record number of non-white women in Congress. So Biden is smartly reading the tea leaves. There's something going on in the American electorate, and that includes white voters too, where Kamala probably fits a demographic mode that will serve well in terms of the way the country is in this change, this transition of demographic change. So again, it seems to me that, Biden and Kamala, with her bringing so much, I think, energy in terms of just her appeal to Black women. Black women are energized. A lot of Black women, I'm not going to say all, of course, that's a ridiculous statement, but again,
Right.
Those who are politically mobilized overwhelmingly behind Kamala Harris and excited about it. And there is an energy. And I think if you don't know it, it's because you're not around it. I've been around it earlier in this election cycle. There is some enthusiasm. There's a lot of resentment towards Biden and towards Kamala. But I think, if I could talk to those Black folk, if they would listen to me, I would urge them to think about how do you win the outcome rather than simply winning the results. And by that is we can win the election and we don't get anything out of it. And I think what we have to do is learn more from Martin Luther King, what was valuable in his ministry, and that is that he showed us how to mobilize, but how to also sit in offices and do politics. I see a lot of people who are from the ADOS movement and from the Afrocentric movement, and the white man, and we don't want to be a part of this system, etc. Why vote? Voting is a waste of time. What do we get out of it? And I always say, well, then, first of all, if you're not voting, please tell me you're doing something else that's equally as powerful. Otherwise, you ain't doing nothing but talking, right?
It won't affect change, right?
But secondly, who are you to be? You think you wiser than 30 million Black people? You claim you down with your people, and let's say 30 million Black people vote, and let's say 30 million Black people vote for the Democrats, but you better than them? You smarter than 30 million Black people? You wiser than your mass? You wiser than the masses of your people, but you so revolutionary and enlightened that you so far behind them? Maybe they're wiser than you. Maybe Black people need to open their eyes and recognize what has happened in America is a brilliant achievement where the Black population as a minority population has taken over a political party that used to hang them, that used to lynch them, that used to enslave them. Black people put out minstrel. Let me say this, right? Black people put minstrel out of business. We put minstrel out of business when we put blackface on. Look up a man named Burt Williams. Burt Williams was the Jay-Z of minstrel. White folk like Al Jolson had got famous for mocking us. Well, you've heard the saying, Alicia, why like a Chrysler 300 look like a Bentley until the Bentley show up, right? So they got these white folk, these little skinny, scrawny, right. and Jolson was Jewish, these little skinny, scrawny, Irishmen and Jewish men trying to mock Black bodies, which are bigger, stronger, more resilient, and more muscular, and with just a whole hemispheric movement. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Black folk was like, well, these white folk making money mocking us, Steppin', Fetch It, and others.
Yeah.
Burt Williams was like, well, shit, we need to just do it ourselves. So the Bentley showed up.
Yeah.
And the beauty with black people in blackface, and when black people put on blackface, white people nobody hired white people no more. Wasn't no need for white minstrel because black people put it out of business. See, and this is something we don't get taught. We don't get taught that we put blackface out of business by putting on blackface. And we never get credit for that. But we did that. And again, his name is Burt Williams, and there was a whole bunch of them as I think they called themselves interlocutors, right? And translators, and transliterators as dancers. And they did this in New York. This wasn't Alabama, Georgia, Memphis, and the Grand Ole Opry. This was in Broadway, New York City, where they blacked up. Black folk, black up, put white people in blackface out of business forever. Put them out of business, ended it. And I say that to say, we don't give ourselves credit for that. And I'm saying that to say with the political party, you hear stupid people like Candace Owens, stupid people like Kanye West, right? Stupid people talking about black people on a Democratic plantation. Well, it would be a plantation if we had 10 and we wouldn't get off the Democratic plantation, as they call it. But the reality is there's only 2. So if there's only 2, it ain't no plantation. The reality is we don't have another choice. The reality is we only have 2 parties. Everybody's on the plantation then. If black folk is on the plantation, the Nazis is on the plantation. The alt-right is on the plantation. QAnon is on the plantation. Kanye's on the plantation, because there ain't but 2. So how you gonna blame the black group when there's only 2 choices for choosing one of the 2 damn choices, and then ignore the fact that one of the parties that used to dominate them hung them from trees. They decided in 1932, between 32 and 64, between the New Deal and the Great Society, to put white racism in the Democratic Party out for good. And black folk took over the Democratic Party. That's why everybody keeps saying black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Well, if you look at the data, black men are number 2 over white women, over Asian women, over white men. Number 1 is black women. Number 2 in terms of every other group available. And that means white women could be number 2. Asian women could be number 2. Latina women could be number 2. No, black men are number 2. Black women are number 1. Black women are number 1. Black men are number 2 in the Democratic Party. And I'm saying to us, why don't you open your eyes and see Burt Williams standing up in front of you instead of seeing the black face and mocking it? See the power of what the brother did. He put them out of business. He simply did what they did and did it better, and they were done. And now black folk have taken over a political party. They've taken it over and they dominate it now. James Clyburn, you saw what that brother did. We've never had a man like James Clyburn in Black America before at that rank of leadership in Congress. Respect James Clyburn's position. Respect that brother saw lynched bodies in South Carolina in the 1940s and 50s when he was a boy. Respect the fact that he knows that the hell that our people have been through in South Carolina. Who do you think you are? You 20, you 30, you hip hop, you something else, you all into social media, you TikTok, you on Twitter, you got a following, and you talking mess about James Clyburn being a sellout, and he's been facing the devil for 50 years and winning.
Give us some more names. Give us some more names.
Barbara Lee is another example that comes out of the Black Power movement, that comes from C.L. Dellums, that comes out of Asa Philip Randolph and the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, right, and maids, right here in Oakland, right here. Barbara Lee comes out of the Black Panther Party political coalition that was headed by C.L. Dellums, by C.L. Dellums. And Asa Philip Randolph is somebody he worked with closely here in California. You had people like Maxine Waters, who's been fighting on the front line for 40 years for black people out of Los Angeles. I think we should show respect for the Congressional Black Caucus. As these are our institutions, we fought to get them. We had no representation in the 1950s. We had 1 or 2 here or there after they kicked us out in the 1870s from the Reconstruction period. And now we have, the Congressional Black Caucus. And most Black Americans don't know how much work the CBC does to prevent racist legislation from ever even making it to consideration on the floor. They actually do a lot of work, a lot of good work, and they don't get credit. And again, black folk have been so brainwashed by white people and media to see their own production as not excellent, but we get sort of trained to look down on our own greatness.
Yeah.
And here
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
dominating the Democratic Party.
Give me the name of the sister who brought the Voting Rights Act bill back to
Recently?
yes.
Oh boy, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head who sponsored it. The John Lewis bill, but that
It
goes.
was under threat.
Yeah, well, the 1965 Voting Rights Act was basically eliminated in 2013, at least the enforcement part of it. And so, what the John Lewis Voting Rights Act would do would be to restore the enforcement section of 13, because the way it worked, a state from the South always had to show that it wasn't being racist from 65 on. It had to prove that if they did anything like voter registration, or let's say if they decided to do a ranked choice voting like we have in California, let's say if they decided to do that in Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, they would have to get pre-clearance permission to do ranked choice voting. California doesn't. It's not just the southern states, it's some other states too. Even New York had a oversight. But the idea is the 1965 Voting Rights Act that came out of the marching and the protesting had an enforcement section, and that was taken out in Holder, Shelby County versus Holder, 2013, right around the time that the Trayvon Martin killing and verdict all came back. And at the same time, gay marriage equality was recognized by the court. Was the same time that we had this unfortunate development.
Yeah, I'll have to look her name up and bring that up. Okay, so let me go down the list of the key battleground states: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Florida,
Ohio,
Georgia,
Pennsylvania, Michigan,
North Carolina.
Yeah, and right now there's been 5 million votes. And if you look at places like Virginia, you had a large turnout of like 500,000, 600,000 people in a blue state. You look at places like Wyoming, Montana, Iowa that have had early voting. There's not this groundswell, even though these are small populations. You can just look at the red states that are voting now and the blue, and look at the numbers of turnout. And I'm assuming, I might be wrong, and I don't want to be a cheerleader.
Black woman owned. ClariT Media.
But I'm assuming that's a blue wave coming. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
That's what they've been talking about. Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. But you have people making requests for mail-in ballots at unprecedented levels. I don't want to exaggerate, I thought I heard a number of 500% up in requests. And that voting is high everywhere. So again, something is going.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm excited about my next question. Keep going.
No, I just think something's going on in the electorate that is going to be quite tremendous in 3 weeks. And again, it could be that the country goes behind Trump. Don't prepare yourself for a Biden victory. I think psychologically, everybody has to prepare themselves for a Trump victory, like they did in 2016. You have to almost go back to the misery, like post-traumatic stress. Go back to that PTSD you had in 2016. Put that PTSD on.
That's why I put it in there. Yeah, because we got to get ready.
Just remember how you felt on November. What was it? November 14th.
Yes.
November 9th, and November 10th.
Yeah.
November
got
10th.
it.
And that's why you should go vote on November 3rd, or you vote right
Okay.
now.
So you talked about the blue wave. Okay. And thinking about my questions to you, it dawned on me, as a journalist, I have to look at the other side. Of course, I have to try and be objective. And so California, okay, typically we are blue. But Donald Trump was invited by the governor, Newsom, during the fires to come out and take a look at the destruction, okay? And he had been talking all that crap about California's forestry and how we have been neglectful neglectful, or negligent in taking care of our lands and all of that. Okay, but it turns out that it's actually federal land that he is responsible for. Okay, so he ultimately comes and he frees up the money to help in the recovery of the destruction of the fires. Okay, so this relationship between Newsom, who has an agenda, and Trump, could that visit possibly change anything enough to have this blue wave turn into a slightly red wave?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Donald Trump coming to California,
it's not enough, obviously, but
it's actually fatal because one, he gave the Lincoln Project plenty of ammunition and material when he made some of the comments that he doesn't think the scientists know. Well, that's just he's ignorant of everything, saying that the brilliant people at Caltech, at Harvard, at Stanford, at the science labs at MIT, they don't know. And this man, I don't even want to talk about his academic record. It paid for somebody to take his essay. This is the dumbest kid in the class. He's the dummy in the class telling the kids who are the smartest ones, you don't know about science.
Right.
Donald Trump, everything that is petulant and childish, because of his own inferior. Donald Trump is the most inferior white man I've ever seen. He is so insecure in himself that when a black woman speaks, he calls her a monster because she's just smart and sharp. And again, never have I seen the man be so afraid of people who are different. I mean, he's rich, allegedly, and powerful, right? And yet he's so unhappy. I ain't never seen a man so rich, so powerful, so miserable. I mean, what would make Donald Trump happy? What would make Donald Trump happy as a person? All the stuff that everybody else doesn't like, right? Some
kind of control.
His trip to California was fatal. One, because he made the ignorant comments about science, but then also because it exposed the fact that he is ignorant of the fact that this is his job to be cleaning up the forests he's saying they need to be cleaning up in California. So every time you hear this man say they need to be cleaning up, doing forestry in California, he's letting you know he doesn't even know what the hell his job is. That's like a cop saying somebody need to be pulling people over for speeding and blaming the parking ticket people for not giving speeding tickets out because he don't know his damn job, thinking that the traffic the parking meter made is supposed to give speeding tickets. That's Donald Trump's brain.
I wanted to bring that up though.
Over on the freeway. That's how his brain works. The meter maid pulls you over and gives you a ticket. That's how his thinking is working right now with regard to the fires here in California. He thinks it's California's responsibility to put out the fires when it's his. And he's blaming California loudly, telling you, I don't know my damn job description. And yet this man is still viable as a potential re-elected president. And this is why I say...
we have to get it right on November 3rd. And this is why I brought it up.
But this is why I think the power Trump has is the incumbency itself. I can't explain it. We probably don't have much more time, but incumbency, when you are the incumbent, you reap the benefits of everything that Americans invest into the office, not you, the office. You benefit from the office. So Trump knows that office is sacrosanct in American politics and in the state. So he knows that he has the power of God with a small g as long as he's in it. But once he's out, the sister from New York is coming after him and she's gonna throw him in jail. A black woman's gonna throw Donald Trump in jail. She can't wait. The sister in New York, or the AG. She just waiting. They got his son. They made his son plead the Fifth Amendment last week. Y'all not paying attention. Eric had.
What's her name? Give us her name.
No, but you shouldn't have asked me. I would have said it.
Okay. I'll look it up in the next.
Name. It's a sister name. I'm from New York, and I should know. I just can't think of
AG, the Attorney General, New York. Okay, let me get it.
Sandra? No.
Letitia James.
Letitia James. Letitia James is coming after the Trumps. Somebody in the Trump family is going to jail. She already ended the Trump organization. A black woman A black woman AG ended the Trump empire. And nobody thinks about that. She ended it. She broke it. She busted it. She busted it up like the.
Speaking of a black woman busting something up, okay, here's my attempt to bust something up here. Okay, now let's talk. We're still on the subject of key battleground states. Okay, Texas has been won by a Democratic state. Texas has not been won by a Democrat since 1976 with Jimmy Carter. Okay, it's the biggest battleground state in the United States, according to Hillary Clinton. It is the biggest. Do Biden Harris have a chance there? More because more blacks are there, it's been more affordable for a lot of folks, not just blacks, so the demographics have changed.
A lot of Californians moved there. I don't know. They've been saying that for about 2 cycles now. Obama didn't turn it blue, so I know Biden can. I think that's the test. If Biden, but again, that Obama was 12 years ago. More and more people have moved to Texas. Actually, I showed this electoral college map to my students. In 2024, because of its population growth, Texas is actually going to gain 2 electoral college votes to be, I think, 38 or 40. So Texas is growing, and so also was Florida. Florida actually is going to gain seats in the electoral college. And some states that are losing populations will lose them. And that happens every 10 years when the census is done. When the census is done, it tells us where the people have moved. Then the congressional seats follow the people, and the electoral college of 538 tweaked. So where the people
and it's not too late to be counted in the census, folks. You got to know that it's not too late. You can go to usa.gov and get that census count done. That's really important. Also, while you're there, check on your voter status and make sure everything's prepared. You're prepared and ready to vote on November 3rd. Also, I wanted to bring up the Texas businessmen, or the money that comes out of Texas to support the Republicans, typically has been done by major media holders, businessmen like Nexstar Nation, who owns over 200 television stations, and the effect that this whole marketing campaign and the opportunities for conservative political marketing and advertising around the election has. Just how effective is the money still?
Yeah, the money is major, and that's why Citizens United needs to be repealed. You also have this group called the Sinclair Group.
Sinclair Broadcasting,
because they have their people saying the same thing, reading off the same card like a cult.
But Nexstar has crept up on them. Nexstar owns the majority of television stations now.
Good. And unfortunately,
but they're Republican, and they're out of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Cron 4 is owned by Nexstar.
Oh,
okay. Okay. I mean, I'm just keeping it real.
Right.
And the political advertising and control and all of that, but they're having a difficult time with everything else. So I think that the last thing that they can get their claws into is the political advertising, especially at a time like now with the presidential election. Talk about the media and the advertising campaign, advertising.
First time around again.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to ClariT Media. This is Alicia, the founder and executive producer of ClariT Media. Thank you so much for tuning in for the programming. ClariT Media is all about you and your voices. I am here to make sure that your stories are told. We, the people on the ground, in the neighborhoods, throughout our Bay Area communities, have something to say. We are concerned about what's happening in our world around us. That's why I created ClariT Media. It's all about human stories and grassroots solutions. Because out of chaos comes clarity. ClariT Media.